On the second Sunday of Advent, we lit the candle of peace. Lighting this candle during Advent, which is a time of waiting, is really an admission that the peace we are seeking is different from and more than the kind of peace the world seeks. But what is this peace, and where does it come from? Hello, I'm Stuart Baskin, pastor of First Presbyterian Church of Tyler, Texas, and this is your daily devotional for Tuesday, December 6th, 2022. We all know the speech that Jesus gives to his disciples during the Last Supper, as the Gospel of John records it anyway. It's a lengthy discourse on the meaning of love. We read this passage during Holy Week each year, and its distinctive phrases and cadences wash over us and take us into a sort of dreamscape, a different world from the one we inhabit, without ever leaving home. But there is a particular portion of this passage that strikes me as particularly relevant in our consideration of peace. In the discourse, Jesus says, "I have said these things to you while I am still with you, but the Advocate, the Holy Spirit, whom the Father will send in my name, will teach you everything and remind you of all that I have said to you. Peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you. I do not give to you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled, and do not let them be afraid." I read this passage now in spite of the fact that it is classically a Holy Week text, since it talks about the nature of the peace Christ brings. In this short snippet, we find out only that the peace he brings is different from the peace the world gives. And that's an important thing to know. But how is his peace different? What peace does he bring? What is the peace that the world gives? The rest of the week, I'll try to tackle the question of the peace Christ brings. But for now, it's worth considering the peace the world tries to give us. The peace the world gives, or claims to give anyway, turns out to be a bit of idolatry. It is filled with false hope, and the peace that the world brings is the false notion that we can find peace through the satisfaction of our own personal wishes and desires. First, there's the promise that we can find peace in the accumulation of more and more things, more and more stuff. And while it may be true that abject poverty is a kind of living hell, it doesn't follow that accumulating more and more stuff frees us from that kind of hell. Oh, sure, there's a level of material well-being that's important. We need the basics of food, clothing, and shelter, and that's why we seek them for other people, especially at Christmas time. We need to be able to feel safe in our persons and homes from violence and crime. But past a certain point, the accumulation of stuff provides diminishing returns in terms of a sense of happiness and well-being. Surely we can treat happiness and well-being as proxies for a certain kind of peace, but to extrapolate from that the idea that more stuff equals inner peace is simply false hope. But that is exactly what the world tells us. If we have a better car, we will live a more glamorous life. If we buy this brand of clothing, we will feel better about ourselves. The constant drumbeat of commercial messaging tends to create a belief that more equals better. But this is false hope, leading not to a greater sense of peace, but to a greater sense of hollowness. Somehow, without quite knowing why, we just never quite reach that sense of inner peace that the world promises us. Oh, maybe we need to look for peace in other places. Maybe peace isn't just about the fulfillment of our own personal wishes and desires. Maybe there is something else that peace consists of. And maybe, just maybe, that's the peace that Christ offers us. But what is that peace? Well, tomorrow, let's start to find out. But for now, may God continue to bless you and keep you in all that you do this day and in all the days ahead.